Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 HD2 Northport. W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't think biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling on your radio dial at Tide 100.9, as well as on the radio network on Facebook, incorporating Martin Houston fan page, personal page, Tide 109, X and O Sports, Alabama Tradition, as well as YouTube, Martin Houston Live, and Facebook at Martin Houston 35. On Twitter. We're live, local, and ready to get things going. You can chat us up in those various online outlets, as well as call us on the traditional Alabama One hotline, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That is the Alabama One hotline, and it is open for business to hear your thoughts, your comments, your conversation. We're going to continue some of the conversation we had from yesterday with Nick Saban. And, of course, the GOAT talked to us yesterday. So we may incorporate some of his audio, or at least some of the comments he had to say about some of the players. Got a little true false set up for you as well. I'm going to be talking about some true false with Coach Saban, even making some comparisons to maybe the Bear and what separates Nick Saban from the Bear. Why he may stand alone atop the Mount Rushmore of coaching when it's all said and done. We'll talk about that. Of course, we have recruiting. We won't have Hank South today, but we still talk recruiting right here on the Martin Houston Show. So we'll still talk recruiting here in the third quarter like we always do. So if you have some recruiting questions, go ahead and post those in chat and or give us a call during that time to talk some recruiting. Love to hear from you. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. I see that we were going to talk a little true false, talk a little bit about Nick Saban from yesterday, and Mad Dog once again may be our candidate for worst take of the week. Mad Dog
It's pretty bad.
on the head. The greatest coach of all time, okay? So kind of taking that we'll start off with, I'll let you incorporate that into the conversation. But the first true false, does Nick Saban need to do anything else to separate himself from all other coaches as the greatest of all time? Is he sitting alone on the top of the Mount Rushmore of coaches, or does he have some company? True, false.
I think that's false. I don't think he has to do anything else to separate himself. I think anything he does after this is just added, but nothing else, in my opinion, is needed to separate him from the rest of the coaches in college football.
So he sits on Mount Rushmore as the greatest of all time by himself?
I mean,
or would you put somebody else up there with him right now?
So when I look at Mount Rushmore, you look at all the presidents, and the president that stands out the most when you look at that is George Washington. He's the first. He's the top guy, and then everyone else might come close, but doesn't reach the level of importance that George Washington did as far as starting this country. So in that sense, I think he's the top dog on Mount Rushmore, but I don't think nobody else is on that level. Like I think you can have Bear Bryant up there. You can have a Woody, just depending what you like, a Woody Hayes, a Tom Osborne, Newt Rodney, any of these guys that Bobby Bowden, anybody like that you can think you can put up there, but there is just a slight separation between Nick Saban and the rest of those guys.
Mason, your thoughts on that, and then I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that.
There's just no way you can put anybody else up there with him. I mean, what do people want him to do? Like, have a 17th place recruiting class and go 7-5 one more time and build it all back up again before they consider him the greatest? It's a stupid argument. It's a stupid thing to bring up. I don't understand why Mad Dog has decided to start to tarnish his own reputation as a good analyst by saying things of this nature.
Yeah, this would be
he doesn't know football. He's not a football guy.
He's a shock jock. That's the issue.
Football.
He's a shock jock. Like he makes his money saying absurd things, and people need to understand that for what it is. I'm sure he's a perfectly intelligent fella that doesn't actually believe a lick of what he said on the air yesterday.
Well, I didn't get to hear yesterday, Aiden. X, we already talked about. Remember what he said? Y'all remember what he said earlier this year, right?
And he contradicted himself yesterday. That's what makes it so funny because of what he said earlier this year. It was a contradiction. Mason, do you have that yet?
Yeah, I've got it ready. We can play it.
Well, hey, hold on. One quick question before you do that. Okay, no. Let's go ahead and see what Mad Dog, who was kind of like radio talk show royalty as far as the whole shock jock sports talk guy, but he seems to be desperate in some of the comments he's making, or he's just playing the game because we're talking about him again in terms of what he's doing. So maybe that's his whole goal, say something stupid and absurd and get people to talk about it. But to me, it's not going to garner him any younger viewers. He may keep the old ones attached, but he's not going to get younger people to value his opinion at all. Here's what Matt Dog, ESPN sports analyst, where I don't even know where all he's at now, but trying to make the leap over to football, and to me seems to be struggling. But here's what he had to say about the GOAT of head coaches.
The best college coach ever.
No. Great coach. Best ever?
Whoa. Best ever.
No.
What?
Best ever. You could go to Alabama with the players he has and coach and win some more.
What?
Best
you're
coach
saying
ever?
Nick Saban is not the best coach ever in college football?
No.
Oh, my God.
He's in Alabama. That's an easy place.
How was Alabama before he got there?
Well, how about Gene
Stallings?
He won a championship.
Gene Stallings.
He won a championship.
You going to bring up Shula next? Who you going to bring up next?
No, I won't bring
really?
up Shula.
Really? Oh, my God.
But Stallings, that's a good one. You brought up Shula.
Oh.
Funny. Stallings, I'll tell you the best coach in the history of college football.
Okay.
You ready?
No, I'm not.
And I'm not going to.
I'm
Don't look at me that way. You're on my team.
I know I am, but I'm nervous about what's about to happen.
It's not Newt Rockney.
Okay.
It's not, it's not Frank. It's not Leary. Frank Leary.
Yeah.
It's not Bear Bryant. It's not Pop Warner.
Okay.
At Old Carlisle with Jim Thorpe.
Okay.
It's not Alonzo Stagg.
Oh,
it's not
my
Walter
Lord.
Camp.
Okay.
You know about Walter Camp?
Yeah, of course.
It's
Walter
not him.
Camp Award. Yeah.
The best coach, in my opinion, for my money, in the history of college football, is Ara Parsegian.
Oh, my God. Oh,
What's so funny?
Can I have some years?
oh my Lord.
Can I what?
Oh, my
just
God.
years. Yeah, just dates.
1964.
Oh,
my
okay.
God.
Yeah,
1976.
I wasn't so familiar.
Yeah, that's just absolutely terrible. Like,
What was he about to say from 1964 to 1976?
that's when Air Parsegian was the head coach at Notre Dame.
And
But
he won 2 titles during that run.
And that's the third most in Notre Dame history.
So
Luke Rodney, and he didn't even say the guy's name right. It's Frank Leahy won 3 and Newt won 4. So how is he the greatest coach in college football history if he's not even the best coach at his college?
yeah, but once again, we'll carry this conversation over to the second quarter. But the absurdity of what he said was Nick Saban don't qualify because he's at Alabama. And he even says he names Coach Stallings and he names Coach Bryant. Now Alabama has had a winning tradition before Saban, and that's why I started the conversation off with: has Saban separated himself from the winningest coach of all time before Boughton and Paterno coached till they were 150? And average wins per season. Look at Saban. If he just continues to coach in the next 4 to 6 years, I think he'll pass Bear Bryant in number of wins here at Alabama. So I guess my question is, why we've said that Nick Saban can stand alone on the Mount Rushmore. Right now he's on Mount Rushmore with other coaches. I want us to talk about in the next segment why he may end up standing alone on Mount Rushmore, and not just on the mountain, but literally you have to have a Division I and a Division I AA for Nick Saban. And what would he have to do in the next, in this 8-year stretch? If he stays 8 years, what else would he have to do? Maybe even throw a true false in there about something around those 8 years. As we go to break, Curtis Lewis makes a great point, guys. He says, yes, he needs to keep coaching to protect his place against future contenders, not past. So I think what Curtis is saying, he stands alone if you look backwards in history, and he needs to continue to grow to protect and solidify himself in the future. We'll talk more about the greatest coach in college football in the history ever, Coach Nick Saban, right here on the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks and no rain over Tuscaloosa County at the moment. Everything looks pretty good. If you do see conditions throughout the morning that folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. If you need a new vehicle, you need to go to Townsend Nissan. They're your hometown dealer, the home of a lifetime powertrain warranty. I'm Captain Ray.
Tuscaloosa Gunsmith does gun repair, modifications, cleaning, Cerakoting, and laser engraving for guns, and they sell Black Rifle Coffee. Tuscaloosa Gunsmith, just off 15th Street behind the fire station.
The perfect place to make your escape. Golden Moon offers 600 finely appointed rooms with incredible views. Take a dip in our Vegas-style infinity pool, complete with a full-service bar and cabanas. Experience the South's premier golf destination at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club or catch the biggest sporting events at Time Out Lounge. So what are you waiting for? Come see us in Choctaw, Mississippi. Golden Moon Hotel and Casino, a Pearl River Resort property.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of a new laundry set with the latest tech. The sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Get up to 30% off select appliances right now. All finishes included. Offer valid August 25th through September 14th. See store or online for details.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky will stay mostly cloudy today and tonight with scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms likely. The high today 82, tonight's low 70. Tomorrow a mixture of clouds and sunshine with scattered showers and storms. The high in the mid-80s at 85. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 73 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Don't forget about Taco Casa. Taco Casa is your choice for your lunch and or dinner needs. Go check them out at one of the 6 locations in West Alabama, one up in Birmingham off of Lakeshore Drive. That's Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. If you're just now joining the show, start off with a little true false. Is Nick Saban standing alone on Mount Rushmore, or does he have some company? And the answer is he has company, but he stands alone up there in terms of importance. Has company, but what can Nick Saban do in the next few years that would absolutely set him apart? I know we got a couple callers, so we're going to get to them. But, guys, I got some true-false questions around name one category that Nick Saban isn't the best at, and the only one you can get probably is wins when it comes to evaluating coaches. And I'll say this before we get to the phone line. X, Mason, 8. And, guys, listen. Don't you love it when they go, well, he has the best players, but he doesn't get to draft the best players. This is not the NFL. He gets the best players because of his recruiting efforts, and he maintains getting the same players because of his recruiting efforts and the success of his program, right? So I don't understand when people say that as if recruiting is not a part of the job. That would be like saying, hey, you know what? I really like Martin Houston's show, and he has the best show on the radio, which is true. He has the best show on the radio because he has the best insight. You know what I mean? It's like that's part of the show. I mean, that's part of the coaching is recruiting. Guys, come on that real quick. Mason, I'll let you go first, then X, you respond.
I mean, it's so ridiculous at this point to try to discredit Nick Saban for anything, and to try to discredit any coach for, well, they have so much talent, anybody could do it. How do you think the talent got there? Who do you think brought that talent in? You know, it's just a ridiculous. It's not even a fathomable argument. It's not even a proper argument to make.
Yeah, they act as if like Nick Saban gets first choice every year in the draft. You know what I mean? Like they forget what our record was, X, when Saban first came here.
Oh, without a doubt. And the way I look at it is this, and this is why I said earlier that it's a contradiction of saying Alabama gets the best players. Well, when you said Alabama couldn't be the best program of all time, it was because Alabama didn't win enough in between Coach Bryant and Coach Saban. There's only the one national championship in '92. So is Saban winning because Alabama just gets the best players, or because he was able to come in, recruit the best players, start winning with those guys, and continue that?
But we got to get to the callers, but guys, think about this. Nick Saban not only recruits the best players, look at his track record with 5 stars in their transition to the NFL, and look at the rest of you could take all of the rest of the country since they started tracking 5 stars and Nick Saban's been at Alabama, and see where he falls. I mean, how many he sent to the first round versus everyone else. And that's how they determine 5 stars. It's guys they project to first rounders. He has sent probably more guys as first rounders than the rest of the country combined when it comes to 5 stars. You have to add all of them up together. So not only did you recruit the best players, he developed the best players to becoming the best players. So it's just crazy. There's some more stuff we got there, but let's get to Chuck and Joey. Chuck, you're in with the Martin Houston Show on the Alabama One Hotline with Martin Houston and Xavier Houston. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning to you all. That gave me a great laugh before I head to work. Mad Dog. I didn't even know that man is still on the air. I remember him from the Mike and the Mad Dog fame.
Maybe he shouldn't be, Chuck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I forgot all about that guy. It shows you and what you said, Brother Houston. The younger generation wouldn't know about him. And we knew about him. From up there in New York City, and he's the Howard Stern of sports. That's what he is. And him coming up there talking, up in New York City, football's not a big deal up there. Yeah, he's just running his head.
Yeah, he Mason, you're in this industry. Xavier, you're trying to get into this industry. You're in this industry now. You're trying to, both get your footing. Guys, will that type of talk work with the y'all's generation and younger?
No.
Or will they have to have more content?
No, I'm about 10 years older than Mason, but I know for my age group, no, that doesn't make any sense, and we want the meat, and we just don't want all the fluff. That's why I think you see our generation. We're not fans of Mad Dog. We're not really big fans of a Skip Bayless, guys like that. We want more than that, and so that's what I'll say for I know my age group.
What about you, Mason? Aiden, both of y'all can come if you want.
Yeah, I want to hear from both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with what X said. I think I don't know. I'm not a fan of just the hot take to get as much interaction as you can with your stuff. I'm more about trying to actually bring some substance with the arguments that you present. I try to, especially when I'm on the show, when I'm writing anything, I try to always back up what the opinions that I have are, and I think, like X mentioned, guys like Skip Bayless, guys like even Stephen A. Smith, Mad Dog, there's countless guys, Colin Cowherd, they all just spout these takes with no repercussion. And I try not to be like that.
Yeah. Thanks, Chuck. I'll give you closing thoughts.
All right. Okay. All right. You all take care.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, and Chuck brings up a good point. Most people don't even know who that guy is or haven't heard of him. And what's interesting, now, I will say your generation, not necessarily you guys personally, have been victim of the clickbait mentality just because of social media, Twitter, social media, where you write in tidbits of information. And so you guys as a generation, that is something that has worked. But to me, when you're giving an opinion on sports, everybody can see the story, right? By the time I come on the air, and I talk to Xavier about this, Mason, often, is like you can't come on radio and do like a newscast guy, where a newscast guy kind of just gives you the story. Well, that's why you see some stations going away from news sportscasts at night. Why? Because by the time you get to 10 o'clock at night, have you not read every story that's going on? I mean, you've seen every story. So it's really not a reason for me to even tune into you unless you're going to give opinion and fact and say something. So he's giving the opinion side, but he's not backing it up. I mean, saying Aaron Parsegian is the greatest coach of all time would be like making an argument for Coach Stallings, even though Coach Stallings was a great coach. Coach Stallings winning one and having a 7-year period where he won, 10 games a season in the modern era, and saying he's the greatest coach before Nick Saban. That's how crazy that argument is for Aaron Parsegian being the best at Notre Dame. Let's bring in Joey. Joey, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on top 100.9. This is the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I think we're comparing different eras, and I'll open with a question which doesn't demean anybody. Would Bear Bryant's 61 football team beat every one of Saban's football teams?
Not even close.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Saban with dog walk.
Wrong. If they're playing by 61 rules, they'd mop the field with them. Because
what rule would that be that would change? What rule would that be that would change?
But they played both ways. In other words, Saban's team would march down, but when those 325-pound defensive linemen have to cover a kickoff, the game's over.
They didn't. The linemen weren't covering kickoffs. The linemen weren't covering kickoffs. And okay. Here's what you're assuming. Here's what you're assuming, though, Joey. You're assuming that Nick Saban can't condition his players to play both ways.
I didn't say that. I just said the players. It's different eras.
No. Here's a difference era too.
70-pound tackle.
Joey, how much did the offensive line weigh? How fast did they run? How fast were the DBs and running back? Hey, listen, Joey, I'm a realist. I was a very, very good fullback and really dominant, okay, in my position, not trying to be arrogant. I played my position as well as anybody played it, potentially in the history of Alabama. If they brought fullbacks back today, when we went back for the 25 reunion and I was out there on the field with those guys, and I'd been back before that, I looked and I pissed off some of my teammates. I said, guys, we better be glad that we came along when we came along, because we would not find a place on this team. And that's exactly what would happen. You take this team, any of Saban's team, Joey, and put them back in those days and give Coach Saban 200 scholarship athletes, Joey. That's what Coach Bryant had. Let's be real. Give Coach Saban the number of athletes that Coach Bryant coached with. He would never lose. It wouldn't matter if a wide receiver went down. He'd just have the next guy up.
They could only substitute one player between offense and defense.
Do what?
Back in 61, there was not unlimited substitution. The players got on the field and they could only substitute one.
Joey, do you think conditioning in 1961 was better? I'm talking about everything was better in 1961 than it is today. And then you look at just the
obviously not
size. Okay, and now you look at the pure size.
What I'm saying, the 300-pound linemen that can't leave the field because they have to go both ways and cover kickoffs would not make it a full.
So you're telling me that Coach Bryant played with 20-something players?
Bryant played, and the tackles and linemen were 170 pounds.
And so imagine those guys getting laid
Today, if they played by today's rules, obviously they'd get killed. But if they played by rules back then, they.
Hold on, let him finish it, Xavier. Let him finish. Joey, you finished? Joey, I'm making sure. Let me give you something, Joey. You're assuming that because of a guy's weight, he can't be in good shape. That's what you're assuming, right? Do you understand what happens when a 300-pounder hits a 170-pounder for an entire quarter? Do you understand how football works? There was a reason that Nick Saban, when he came to Alabama, absolutely mauled smaller teams. You're assuming that conditioning, the nutrition, the conditioning, and everything of today, you take these guys and put them back in that era, there wouldn't even be any Alabama players left potentially, if based on what you're saying. But here's the other point. Here's the point. You're saying that he could only substitute one player. Bear had 3 deep. He didn't have to substitute more than one player because he ran out 3 units.
You're moving to the time of unlimited substitution. I'm talking about when it was limited.
So you're telling me that Bear Bryant played a full game with 12 guys on offense and 12 guys on defense, and the same guys played all the positions?
Most of the time in 61 and 2 and 3, it didn't.
So there were only 12 guys playing.
It didn't change until 66.
Only 12 guys playing?
There was more than 12, but
that's what you're saying? You're saying they could only substitute one, and they played offense and defense and special teams.
Yes, you couldn't substitute an entire team. Today's linemen leave the field and get oxygen after 2 plays.
Definitely not on the offensive
They're
line.
excellent condition. I'm not knocking today's guys in their condition, but there were 300-pound guys back then, but they didn't play because they couldn't go both ways.
Because
Alabama, look, and you'll see the tackles on all the teams and linemen.
Well, hey, Joey, the other part. Listen, Joey, if you ever just get one of those computer simulations to show you what'll happen. Like I said, hey, listen, much respect to 61. This is not about not respecting 61. But if you don't think that these guys could condition and play both ways just because of what you've seen, most of them play both ways in high school. They just platoon when they get to college. And then to say that he didn't have a starting defense, he had some guys that played both ways, not all. But the other thing, how many scholarships could Coach Bryant have?
I think it was 125. But
okay, all right. So when he got his 125, where did most of the best players go?
Everybody could sign that many.
Right. So where did most of the best players go?
Alabama, USC, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
And who did Coach Bryant never beat?
Texas.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, right?
Notre Dame. Or no, he didn't beat Notre Dame.
He didn't beat Notre Dame. That's why Notre Dame people say that Coach Bryant is not the greatest coach. Because when he had his opportunity to beat the team that was considered the greatest at that time, he didn't. Nick Saban has won more games against top 25 than all coaches of all time put together. And he's played more of those games than anyone else. It's just we're comparing era. If you were to give Nick Saban, put it like this: do you think Nick Saban could go back and would he win more or less than he won now in the Saban era? I mean, in the Bryant era.
I think Saban would do well back in that era as well.
And do you think Coach Bryant would duplicate Saban's success in today's era?
I think Bryant would be successful in today's era as well.
I think he'd be successful, but I don't see him duplicating it. What's Bears' worst season? Has Nick Saban had to do a rebuild at Alabama? And I'm not trying to dog Coach Bryant.
Saban had to rebuild for his first year.
He had to rebuild when his first year. So did Coach Bryant. So Coach Bryant had to rebuild. But what happened when football changed on Coach Bryant? He had a couple down years, right?
They adapted.
But he had some down years in that adaptation. While he was adapting, right?
Right.
How much has football changed in Nick Saban's coaching career at Alabama compared to how much it really changed during Bryant's era?
As I'll say, not the same because of the unlimited substitution that occurred. Now,
no, I'm saying you're picking one. You said 61. You pick 1 year.
I think when they played both ways, and it won the national championship.
And what I'm telling you is, if they were to make the rule today, you could only play if you were to bring that rule into today. Who would be the most dominant coach in today's football?
Saban would still. That's smart. Outsmarts all of them.
Why?
He's the best adapter, and he's proven that in his era.
I think he's the best adapter of all time. He's never. How many losing seasons has Saban had at Alabama?
Is it none, or was the first year a losing season? I wasn't losing.
No, it wasn't a losing season. Other than that 6-win season, his first year since Alabama climbed the pinnacle to number 1, what's the most games Saban has lost in a season? 3, right? And we say that's possibly his best team, 2010. Other than that, he's lost 1, 2, or 0.
I complimented him. I just said that when we talk we're talking about different eras, and the rules have changed so much.
And you're saying that Bears 61 team would beat Saban's team, and I'm telling you,
if they played by 61 rules.
And I'm telling you I'm telling you that you're making the assumption that these guys, because they don't play both ways, that they are not conditioned
for an entire game.
Joey, do you realize a 320-pound offensive tackle or a 330-pound defensive tackle laying on a guy that's between 100 and I'll give you 200 to 225 pounds for 4 quarters? That guy, that 200 to 225 pound guy would be absolutely dog tired by the time that game was in. He wouldn't have anything left in him.
You're assuming the smaller fella's not going to win some of the battles.
And you're assuming the bigger guy
even
is.
If they march down in the first half of the first quarter, they're not going to last the entire game.
Let me ask you this, Joey. Let me ask you this. If I told you could take a 175-pound guy, condition him to the best of his ability, and then I could take a 300-pound guy and condition him to the best of his ability, do you think Evan Neal couldn't line up and play both ways?
Not for a 60-minute game against the other guy.
Why? Why do you assume that?
He gets oxygen every other play or every third.
Evan Neal never left the field for Alabama,
except when the defense on.
I played both ways in high school, and because I came from a school that had 23 players. Okay, I played with and had 23 players on our team. And you think of a high school with 23 players, what does that tell you most likely? That you're probably going to have a bunch of guys. You're going to have a bunch of guys that's doing what? Playing everything. I didn't come off the field for punt. I came off the field, I'm sorry, for punt return and kickoff coverage. Okay? And I was a 250-pound tailback in high school, Joey, which would be the equivalent of a 300-plus pound offensive lineman. Right?
I give it to you.
And I played both ways, and I was the player of the year as a linebacker and signed in college as a fullback. What's the difference? You're saying that I could go back to that time and would have been playing against smaller guys. A 250-pound tailback, 250-pound linebacker, playing on everything but two special teams in the South. I'm telling you, it could be done. And I wasn't, and I would not brag at myself of being the best conditioned player. Not even close to what Saban would have had me in. But I also can tell you that when I got to Alabama, Joey, they wanted me smaller. You hear me? And I dropped down to 215 pounds, Joey, and had to play. And when I was hitting those 300-pounders, it was painful compared to what it would have been when I got back up to 230 my senior year. It's a difference, man. The weight equals mass times speed equals power, and the power game would have been even on more display. I got to get the break. I'm telling you, I got a bunch of callers. We'll get the break right here. Thanks, Joey. Appreciate the content, man. Hey, listen, that's your opinion, and you brought it, and we appreciate it. That's Joey saying, hey, 61, take care of Saban's players today. Come back on the other side. We're going to have to run through some callers right here on the Martin Houston Show.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. The Alabama Crimson Tide football team had 19 selections to the 2022 preseason coaches All-SEC team, including 6 to the first team. Both are league highs. The Houston Texans have officially placed John Mechie III on the reserve non-football injury list. The Baltimore Ravens have released Slade Bolden.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks and no rain over Tuscaloosa County at the moment. Everything looks pretty good. If you do see conditions throughout the morning that folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. If you need a new vehicle, you need to go to Townsend Nissan. They're your hometown dealer, the home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team. Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family? Are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our Pep Talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Joey making the statement that 61 could beat today's game. I can't go there yet. I know the rules may have changed, and I'm going to go back and look at how many guys actually played and got PT. But another factor, and this is not making it about black and white players, but Coach Bryant's most dominant era was the 70s. What changed for Coach Bryant? He added African-American players. And when he added those players, the game changed and he became more athletic, gave him more options. And I'm not knocking anybody before that because that's the way the game was played. But you have to admit that the game of football is a much more athletic game today as a result of what changed at the University of Alabama in the 70s. And we thank those who paved the way for guys like me to come without there being an issue. Pat, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Top 100.9 Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Man, hey, you should have just said 2012. That shows him that mass times speed equals death. That them little shrimp that Notre Dame had. But anyway, hey,
good job, Pat. I mean, good point. But they weren't playing both ways, though, Pat. I'm just kidding.
It doesn't matter whether it's playing both ways or not. They couldn't play at all. Hey, but let's go back. Let's go on. My main call is about recruiting, as you will know.
We'll get it.
I want to talk about Damian Wilson. He's a 6'4" edge rusher out of Venice, Florida, and I want to see what X can bring to the table about this guy. He looks very, very special to me. He's not committed to anybody, and I just looking for a backup plan in case Rousseau decides to go to Georgia. Rousseau, and I think this guy's special. X, what do you think?
Yeah, Damian Wilson, 6'4", 230, out of South Florida. He's the top 40 player in the country. Number 6 overall edge. Alabama's very high on him, and I think it really depends on what Keeley and Rousseau decide to do. It will determine where he ends up. He has Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, and Texas as his top choices right now. So I just really think it depends on how everything shakes out with those two guys. If we get one of them, if we get both of them, hey, most likely he'll be somewhere else. If we don't get either other one, from what I've heard, Alabama might be the place for him.
That was the whole three's got him listed as number 2 edge rusher. I saw his film. Hey, he's a bad man.
Hey, Pat, we're going to kick recruiting. Probably talk a little bit more about that tomorrow since the show kind of took a different leg.
We'll talk back tomorrow and have some more content. Hey,
yes, sir, because we want to talk about the kid that decommitted from Michigan State as well. All right, thanks, Pat. Welcome into the program. We have Linda. You in on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, ma'am?
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm well. First time I've
heard from you.
Years, but well, but listen, you gave that guy far too much time. Coach Bryan in his early years did not play against nor recruit the very best athletes in the nation. They were all in the SWAC. Let's just tell it the way it is. They were down there with Eddie Robinson at Grambling. They were at Texas A&M, and not Texas A&M, Texas Tech. All of those black schools, Jackson. That's where they were. And Eddie Robinson put 200 in the pros.
Yeah.
He had a winning record of 408 against 165 losses with 15 ties. Now, if you don't mention him as one of the greatest coaches ever, he didn't have the facilities that the other colleges had. He cut the field, he drove the bus, he did everything at Grambling. And still he was a winner. So this guy wants to put Coach Bryan above everybody. Coach Bryan did not play against some of the best athletes in this land until late 60s, early 70s. Am I correct?
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard me mention that about.
The SEC was all white, and the SEC played against all white teams until they came up against USC. And who showed out on them? Who showed out on them? Sam Cunningham.
Sam
How to play
Cunningham.
football. He showed Alabama. I was at that game. He showed Alabama how to play football. And Coach Bryan was very wise in getting with Johnny McKay and setting that game up so his prejudiced fans could see how football is played.
Yeah.
So this guy needs to go back and look at history. The best athletes that were in Texas and Alabama that didn't want to go to Alabama A&M, they went north. They went to the Big Ten, who accepted them, as opposed to the SEC.
Yeah.
So learn some history before you come on Martin Houston show spreading ignorance. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Linda. Good to hear from you. And you know, and listen, if we're talking Eddie Robinson, anybody knows that Eddie Robinson belongs on a mount. Only reason I separated him from the conversation is because of the different levels. Because you can find different levels, but what he did is unmatched. So and he is a guy that I think would do it today as well. But you know. Let's get to Todd. Let's get to Todd because I want Todd. Thanks for your patience. Todd, you in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
And, first of all, I want to say great show. Passion from all the callers is second to none. Roll Tide. You know, the guy, what's his name, Joey, he has a little bit of a point. And I know you can't compare college to high school or little league, but I remember one year we took a little 90-pound football team, and I mean that was when weighted football was the thing to go. All the kids had to be weighted. We had a badge of the ball, a little 90-pound 10-year-old football team. We went to a turkey bowl, and we were playing unlimited teams. So you know, we had 90-pounders going up against 150, 125-pound linemen, and the first game we know was kind of close, you know. Really close, and then the second time, man, we took it to them boys, and all the parents, you know, when they seen our little team walk on the field, they just laughed and, oh man, look at them little boys, man, we're gonna run and slap over them, and so it's possible for, you know, a smaller fella, you know, if he's trained right, to really do technique on bigger guys. Now, I'm not saying that would happen in 61 versus that because
right. And Todd, you're correct. You're correct, except for that at the collegiate level. Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. You give me a bunch of little small, quick guys at the younger age and stuff like that. But when you take the conditioning, that's what I was trying to get across to Joey, is he's assuming because of the way the game is played today that these guys can't play that way because 300-pounders in 61 couldn't. Well, you know what? That's like saying that Kyrie Jackson can't play corner. Do you understand that tight ends used to be small forwards in basketball until what was his name? Gates came out in the NFL from not even playing football and moved over to play tight end for the Chargers. What I'm saying is the game is so different. And what was an athlete in 61? You take a 300-pounder in 61, man. That dude was a slob. He would even make the team this now. You take a 300-pounder today, and that guy can run as fast, lift as long, run as long, and run a mile at the same time the 175-pound guys could back then. Conditioning, you're conditioned to play 4 quarters. If you were playing 4 quarters and had to play both ways, you just up your conditioning is what I was trying to prove. The nutrition is better. The facilities are better. All of that. So if you take today's rules and put those guys here, what would happen to them? Because you can't have it just one way. You can't just put Alabama's team back then and say they would be better. Which team would win? Which team would win the most? Do you think a 61 team would, if you took Saban's athletes today and their conditioning and put them back in 61, do you think that game would be closer by those rules than the 61 team coming and playing in today's game?
I don't believe it will be even close. My point was just, the little fellas, look at Belichick. He's able to find those bad as the bone, little small guys and plug them boys in and they can play. But, my point was just, the little fellas, they tougher than what you think on some of them football teams. And,
I agree. I mean, like I said, but he was making a comparison between, eras and saying that, yeah, if you take big boys from 61 and big boys from 61, Bear won. That's why he won, because his smaller guys were better conditioned than the teams that had the big guys. And guess what, Todd? The North still does it. They still bring those big plotting guys down south, and we got big plotting guys who are athletic, and we still put it on them, right? It hasn't changed. It's still the same. They're just bigger. We're just bigger and athletic instead of small and athletic now in the South. So, and thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Call back anytime, man. Sorry, they got the music playing. Got to get out of here. Hey, listen, guys, remember this, and we can pick up the conversation tomorrow because this is a Fire Sale Friday, Free for All Friday, and we'll keep it going right here on the Martin Houston Show. But the game changed about 50 years ago. In the era of football today, guys, let's just face it, is better than it was. Bear was dominant in his era. We give it to him. Saban would be dominant in any era. And we'll talk more about why on tomorrow. Thanks, X. Thanks, Mason. Thanks, Aiden. Thanks, caller, listeners, viewers, chatter, for being a part of the show. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out there, everybody.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning, police in Belize continue to investigate the murder of 66-year-old Rodney Rushing. He's originally from Alabama and recently retired to Belize to